being happy to oblige the client, and they start knocking 5, 10, 15% off all their prices in a race to the bottom of the pit. And by default, as a reality of that, as they race down on price, they genuinely start commoditizing the solution and the provision. But most of them do a pretty good job of writing contracts that allow them to change order the client to death during the process, so they can claw back some of the money that the client stupidly through the process drove out of it to begin with. And at the end of the result, they end up paying what they should have paid in the first place, the only difference being the general contractor hates the client hates the contractor, but hopefully they work out no one's going to build anything for another 10 years and they should be all right. Now, very cynical view, and I apologize to all my construction friends on the call, but I reckon many of you have seen that, maybe a little exaggerated, but you've definitely seen that pretty fierce environment in construction. And in fact, to get 50% of your business as a multi-billion-dollar organization without even being subject to that process is exactly what we were trying to understand. And I bring that up for a couple of reasons, because the research question we were asking, and I'm skipping ahead here in some slides, the research question we essentially asked, and the insights I'm going to talk to, are around, in a hyper-competitive environment, how do leading companies win without competing solely on price? And it wasn't that we were expecting to find, consistent evidence of an ability not to have to compete on price at all. That's certainly not what we were looking for. We were looking at how do you do it without being solely on price. So even if you had to be aggressive and competitive around pricing, you still were able to achieve some kind of a choice premium. And that's essentially what we went to look for. Now, if we sort of unpack and talk in a little bit more detail about when we got started on the research, we found 5 pretty common characteristics across organizations. And with the exception perhaps of things like Rich talked about in Australia with the Aussie dollar, with some oversaturation in certain segments, and